Okay everybody, hello and welcome to the first FSXEurope tutorial video. I'm your host James, and today we're going to be talking about getting VFR clearance from air traffic control. Okay, the first thing we need to do before we make any contact with air traffic control is to find a flight plan. Now you can either do this in the chat window of the FSXEurope server, or you can file it in Pilot Assistant from FSOpen, which is free to download from their website. Now after you do that, it will say your flight plan has been submitted, or it will just be submitted through the Pilot Assistant software. Then once you've done that, you go to the active frequency of the airfield, which in my case is 118.30. So I've tuned to the active frequency there, and that means that I'm on the frequency that everybody will be communicating on at that specific airport. But the first step is I need to check my radios are all working in the aircraft. So the first thing I'll do is give a call to air traffic control for a radio check to see how I'm read, which is what I'll do now. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, radio check.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, I read you 5x5.
So they've come back to me now and said that they read me 5x5, which is great, which means they can hear me clear as they can hear anyone else, which is really good. So the next thing we need to do is request clearance from them. So we'll say call sign requesting clearance, and they'll look at the filed flight plan and they'll read that back to you, and then tell you the altitude and other information you'll need after departure. So here we go. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha requesting clearance.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, you're cleared for a left-hand circuit pattern, not above 6,000, runway 5 in use, QNH 1010, squawk 5456.
So now we've had the clearance read out to us, so the next step for us is to read back the clearance, which is what we'll do. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, roger, cleared left-hand side circuit, runway 5 in use, not above 6,000, QNH 1010, squawk 5456. Okay, so after everything like that, that's cleared us for the VFR fly, and then all we need to do is enter that information into the flight, into the aircraft. So we're going to go to 6,000 feet after departure, which is as we were instructed, and then the QNH and things like that need to be entered as well as the squawk code, which is normally entered around in your center panel. Now, the next step for ATC communication after that point is to request a clearance for push and start. I've already got the engine started, which I shouldn't really, but I have. So I'll contact ground, request clearance for a push and start, and they will give me clearance. I will push back and then start the engines, and then I'll continue on with my taxi after getting clearance and being told where to taxi to. But that will come in another video. But for this first video of how to get VFR clearance from air traffic control in the FSX EU server, that's me signing out. Thank you very much. See you next time. Hello everybody, welcome to this FSXEurope tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you the procedures for pushback and start and taxi with air traffic control. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we've got clearance for our flight with air traffic control. I did a tutorial on how to do this in the previous episode. I'll put the link in the description for you though. So, there's a very specific format for getting pushback and start clearance with air traffic control in an FSX EU server, and what we have to say is we have to give the aircraft call sign, then the parking spot, and our aircraft type. So for me, I would say Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha is that parking spot A9, type BAE146. So then they'd come back to me and give me the pushback and start clearance and things like that. But what I'll do now is I'll show you how I would do that in the real world, and I'll give you some real ATC. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha is at A9, type is BAE146, requesting clearance for pushback and start.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, roger, pushback and startup is approved. Please face southeast on taxiway Alpha.
Okay, so I've had the clearance for pushback and start given to me from the ground controller, but what he's told me is to push back facing southeast on taxiway Alpha. Now what does that mean? That means he wants me to push back and then turn round to the left so I'm facing southeast on taxiway Alpha. Let me show you on a diagram how I mean. So we're going back, then we're going to turn left and face forward, well, what will be our forward, onto taxiway Alpha, and then at that point we'll contact them and tell them that we're ready for clearance to taxi. Okay, so as you can see, we've pushed back, we've got the engines running, and we're ready for our taxi. But there is a specific way to ask for clearance to taxi with air traffic control. Now the way we do this is we have the format, which is the call sign, and then the taxiway you've taxied back to. So what we would say is Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha on taxiway Alpha, ready to taxi. So I'll contact the tower now, and I'll get them to give us taxi clearance. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha at taxiway Alpha, ready to taxi to the runway.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, taxi to and hold short of runway 05 via Alpha and Charlie.
Okay, so what they've told me to do now is they've told me that I'm cleared to taxi to runway 05 via Alpha and then via Charlie and hold short. But in some larger airports you may have many points. You might have to go to Alpha, to Delta, to Echo, and it can all become very confusing. This is why we always try and have the airport chart with us so we can follow our way around. So let me show you. So let's say we're going to Alpha. So this is Alpha here, and then Charlie's there. So we'll go down on Alpha, turn slightly to the right to Alpha, and then hold short runway 05. Now, we could backtrack down runway 05 towards that small holding point you see at the top, but I'm not going to do that because I'm a small aircraft and I don't need that much runway, but that's always at pilot discretion really. So once I'm at the hold short point, I'll contact the tower and request clearance for departure. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha at 05, ready for departure.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, you are cleared for takeoff on runway 05. Wind is 050 at 4 knots. QNH is 1010.
Roger that, Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, clear takeoff runway 05. Okay, so we've been given clearance now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to taxi out onto the runway and begin my pre-takeoff checklists. That will all be in the aircraft, make sure my flaps are set and then I'm ready for departure. But what I thought I'd let you do for this video is sit back and enjoy the takeoff. Okay, thank you very much. This is the end of this FSXEurope tutorial. Please do join us next time for the next one. Check out our YouTube page and website for more information and more great videos. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Hello, welcome to this FSXEurope tutorial video. Today we are continuing with our flight from Madeira for a left-hand circuit pattern. I'm going to be going through the air traffic control procedures and the formats you need to know when flying in an FSXEurope server. So, the first thing we need to do is we need to contact the departure frequency, which I've already registered into the frequency of the aircraft. We're going to contact departure, we're going to give them our call sign, and then we're going to say the altitude we are at and the altitude that we're climbing to. So what I would say is Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha is at 2,500 for 6,000, and I would say give me a read back and say Roger, altimeter recognised, but we'll go into that in a moment. So what we need to do is we need to get hold of the departure, so I'll call departure now and you can listen to the interaction that I have with the air traffic control. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha is 2,500 for 6,000.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, Roger, radar contact, left traffic is approved. Report base leg.
Okay, so I've finished that conversation with air traffic control now. But what they said is, they said radar contact. Now that means that they can see me on the board, their screen, and then they can track my flight. But then they also said, contact me when I'm base leg. So what that means is that I'll do a downwind turn, so I'll be facing almost, parallel to the runway, and then I'll turn again to go to the left, which will bring me in line with the runway, and that will be the base leg. So once I'm on that turn to the left, then I'll report to him that I'm on the base leg to the airfield. I'll show you this on a diagram now, so you can see you're coming across down on the downwind, which is the parallel to the runway, and then we go on the left base round to line up with the airfield. So at the moment I'm going to be turning onto the downwind, so I'll start my turn in a moment to the downwind, and then as I get onto base leg, I'll have to report to the air traffic controller that I'm on base leg, and he'll give me further instruction. But for the meantime, you can just maintain VFR and resume on own navigation. Okay, so I'm currently approaching the base leg. I'm actually on the base leg at the moment, but I haven't contacted air traffic control because it's quite a long base leg. Let me show you on the flight plan where I'm at the moment. So you can see the airplane on the map at the moment, and you can see that I'm kind of coming over the island, and then I'm going to be doing a left-hand turn towards the airfield. So I've flown downwind, which is here, and I'm turning onto the base leg at the moment. But as you can see, because I've got to go over the terrain, it's quite a long approach. So I'll need to contact air traffic control very soon and let them know that I'm on base leg. So what I'll do is I'll call them now, and the format will be Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha on base leg. So it's your call sign and then just stating what you're doing. So what I'll do is I'll call them now, and then you can listen to what he says, and I'll explain all the information he gives you after he's given it us. Okay, well, so I'll contact them now. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha is on base leg.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, roger. Report runway in sight. Contact tower on 118.50.
Okay, so I've reported that we're on base leg to the air traffic controller, and he said, Roger, Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, report runway in sight. And what that means is, it means that he wants me to call him back when I have the runway in sight so we can issue the landing clearance. He also said that I need to contact the tower frequency, so it's another frequency change back to tower, which is who we started off with when we started off at ground. It's who we contacted when we went for the takeoff clearance. So when we get the runway in sight, we'll contact the tower, so we'll switch frequencies, and we'll say runway in sight. But I'll skip to that bit in the video, and then we'll contact tower when we get to that point. Okay, so now we're starting the final turn that will get us in line with the runway. So in a minute I'm going to be turning left, and hopefully we should get the runway in sight. And at that point, the format that we'll use to contact the tower is Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha Tower, runway in sight.
Radio altimeter.
Then normally what will happen is the tower controller will issue the clearance for the landing, and then we'll continue with the approach. So I've got the runway in sight at the moment. Obviously it's going to be a hard approach as there's so much terrain to come over to land. But I do have the runway in sight, so I'll contact the tower frequency. So what I'll do now is I'll go and call the air traffic controllers at the tower, and I'll let you listen to that. Madeira Tower, good evening. Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha has the runway in sight.
Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, roger. Cleared to land, runway 5, wind 050 at 20 knots, gusting to 25.
Roger that, Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, cleared to land, runway 05. Okay, so we've had the landing clearance issued, so we've been cleared to land. We've been told the wind of the airfield, so we can take that into consideration on our approach. So obviously we've got quite a lot of wind for this arrival, and due to the hills and things like that, there's going to be some crosswinds, which makes it a hard approach. But once we've done that, once we're on the ground, we'll exit the runway as soon as we can, and then we'll contact ground for clearance to go to the gate. So now I'll let you sit back and enjoy the landing.
Think rate.
500. 300. Approaching decision height. 150. 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, welcome back to Madeira Airport. That was a bit of a rough landing, but it's a hard approach. Everyone got back safe and sound though. So what we need to do once we're back on the ground is we need to request permission to taxi to the gate off the ground controller. So we'll use the same format as we did when we departed. We'll say Golf Lima Mike Papa Alpha, requesting permission to taxi to the gate. So once they've given us the permission to taxi to the gate, we'll taxi to the gate that we want to. So in my case, we're going back to what I think is A13. Might not be A13. I think I'm planning to go there, but I'll show you on the chart the taxios we're going to use. We're going to go on Alpha again, and then we're going to turn on to the representative gate that we need to go to. So in our case, it's going to be A13, I think. But as I said before, it's really good to use the charts at these larger airports because it lets you move around a lot quicker than what it would be to go to go online and have to look. You know, it's best to have them before you start the taxi. It really does make everything more efficient. But in terms of this video, really, that's the end of the video at the moment. There's not much more to be said. We've shown you how to contact departure after you've took off, then how to get the clearance to land. We've shown you how to talk to them about base leg and explained what base leg is, and shown you a flight plan of Madeira. So if you want to come here and fly and do this route and follow the tutorial, that would be probably really good, and then it gets you into the idea of how to use the charts and how to understand them better. And what we'll do in time is I'll add the charts download link into the description. But for now, that is the end of the video. I really do hope you have enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you next time. Please do subscribe and like us on our page. It would be really good, and there are more tutorials to come soon. So thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Bye bye.